Hello again everyone, my name is James Shotwell, this is Music Biz, and today we're going to talk about hiring a publicist and every question that you should ask before making your decision. Now if you're watching this, I'm going to assume that you either are looking for a publicist right now or you're considering hiring one in the near future. In both cases, welcome, it's great to have you here. Publicists can do a lot to help raise your profile and make people more aware of your existence, but finding the right one can be tough because there are a lot of publicists out there that will take your money, blast your information to a ton of people who don't really care, get a very small return and tell you, well, I guess they just weren't feeling the music. But there are other incredible publicists who will work night and day to make sure that people do care, who will tell your story and empower you to tell it to people who have yet to hear it. That's the kind of publicist you want, and with the questions I'm going to share with you today, you can figure out who's the real stuff versus who's just trying to make a quick buck. Alright, now not every publicist is going to agree with this, but I believe that a publicist should be trying to convince you that they're worthy of your time as much as you're trying to convince them to be worthy of your time. You're not just auditioning for them, they're auditioning for you. And with the questions that I'm about to share, you will get the answers that you need to know. And that all starts with asking a publicist to tell you what they think your band is, to describe your sound to you, to tell you what they think it is that you're doing. Because this is the person that you're going to pay to tell your story to the world. So it's important to make sure that you see eye to eye on just what it is that you're doing. So ask them, tell me about my band, tell me about my song, tell me about my career, tell me what it is you think I'm doing so that I can see if we align. Now this next question is going to tell you a lot about how they view their responsibility to you as a client, and that is to ask them what they feel their worth is to an artist. What is the value that they bring to an artist's career? Now, some publicists will tell you big, fanciful ideas of what they can do. Like they can take you from a nobody to a somebody who's on the front page of Rolling Stone. But other publicists, the one that I tend to trust, will give you a far more grounded answer. They will know where you're at right now because they've done their research prior to the meeting, and they will give you a response that falls in line with how to grow your career over time. They won't promise you the world because they don't know that they can give it, but they can probably open some doors that you have previously been unable to open yourself, and that has more value than the big fanciful promises, but you'll only know if you ask. Along these same lines of setting expectations and making sure that the person is not promising you something they cannot deliver, ask the person that you're speaking with what they do not do. So you know what a publicist is, at least in some extent, but some people believe that a publicist is also a radio promoter and a playlist promoter and also kind of an A&R person. And while some publicists may offer some of those things, not everyone does all the same stuff, and it's important to be clear on what it is you can expect from a campaign with a certain publicist. So ask them what it is that they can deliver and what it is that they will not be delivering. Because if you're looking for somebody to pitch you to playlists, and this publicist doesn't pitch playlists, you're going to have a problem in the long run and you're going to feel frustrated with your investment. So just ask them up front, what do you do? What do you not do? And let's be clear on it. Now I'm going to assume that if you're in a meeting with a publicist, you have already shared with them the thing that you are creating. So if you're trying to find a publicist for the next single, you've already shared that with them. And if you're in the process of finding somebody to work your album, you've at least shared early mixes with them. Whatever the case happens to be, now that they've heard your music and they've taken the meeting, ask them why they think they're the person to work this record. Because again, there are a lot of people out there who are willing to take your money even though they are not the best suited for the job. So you want to know if this person not only is suited for the job, but if they actually want it, if they actually understand what you're doing and believe in this record. Because if they don't, they're not going to be able to sell anybody else. It is very clear to me as a journalist when a publicist believes in an album and when they're copy pasting a press release that they've written before with a different name in it because they got a check. You want somebody that believes in your record as much as you do. So ask them why they feel they are the person for it. And if they have a good answer, that's a really good sign. But if they just say they think you could be the next big thing, I mean, that's cool, but it's kind of vague. You want specifics, and that question will give it to you. Now, of course, you're asking them a lot of questions about their vision and their thoughts, and I'm sure that they will ask you the same. They'll want to know what it is you hope to accomplish with this record, what it is you're trying to say, and what you envision for the campaign. And once all that's out on the table, ask them to give you specific things that you can do to help them make this the most commercially successful release of your career. Because again, press is cool. We'd all love to be on the cover of Rolling Stone and Billboard. But if that coverage does not translate into clicks and purchases, it doesn't really add up to much. So what are the things that they feel that they can do in this campaign, or that you can help them do with this campaign, to make it a commercial success? And again, you're looking for specific answers. You don't want a whole bunch of, well, we can talk to these people and get you here. You want to know some like first step, second step, third step, a funnel, whatever it happens to be. You want to know how they envision making this record a success. It's also likely that the publicist that you're speaking with has other clients. I mean, I know very few that only have one client at a time. And if they have a lot of big clients, you might not be the biggest fish in the pond. Or if they have a lot of small clients, you still want to know who gets priority. So ask them, how do you prioritize your clients? Now, if they're a single publicist working alone, the answer may be based on the needs of the artist at that time. But if they have a giant team of people, like a PR agency, then they might be pushing the smaller acts off to the younger publicists. And so the person you're speaking with might not even end up being the person that works your record. And you need to know that going in because you want to know who's representing your music and how they feel about it. So ask them, how do you prioritize your clients? Will I be the most important thing when you wake up in the morning, or will I be the fifth most important thing as long as the first four get their tasks accomplished? That can really be a big determining factor in whether or not you should hire someone. Now, if you're an artist that already has some amount of press and a little bit of attention going for you, there are probably a lot of blogs and zines and whatnot that you can get your music into. Existing within the community that you already exist in is something that you have accomplished. So when you're looking for a publicist, ask them how they can help you break out of that box. If you are a band that makes alternative music and you are already in alternative press and Substream magazine and publications of that sort, ask them how they can get you into Consequence of Sound or Pitchfork or something a little bit bigger. Ask them how you're going to grow the reach of your music beyond the community that it already exists within, without alienating the people that already love your music. Now, this is a tricky proposition, but if they're a good publicist, they'll have an answer for you. It's all about that continual growth, that slow churn, but they need to have a plan in place, and you deserve to know what it is before you give them money. Now, I know that we're asking a lot of questions, but that's the best way to figure out the best publicist. And I only have a couple left, so stick with me. The next thing is maybe not possible. Now, not everyone's going to be okay with doing this, but if the publicist is, it's going to be well worth your time to make this request. Ask for a SWOT analysis of your career. So that's a strength, weakness, obstacles, and threats analysis of your career. You want to know what they feel you do best, where you could improve, the problems you may have in promoting your release, and the threats to making this the most commercially successful release of your career. Now, a good example of a threat would be releasing it at a time when there's a lot of other music that people may also be interested in. And a strength could be that you write really good songs, and a weakness could be that you don't have a big social presence. All these things you probably already know to one degree or another, but you want to make sure, again, that you and the publicist that you hire are on the same page. Maybe they see something in your career that you've never considered before, and this analysis can help provide it. And finally, perhaps the most obvious question of all, but one that still needs to be asked outright, is how much it's going to cost. Because the range that publicists charge is all over the place. And the amount that they quote you if you're a complete stranger versus somebody that knows them may be entirely different rates. And sometimes just being upfront with asking a rate can get you a better rate, because a publicist may say, well, if I just emailed it to you after the fact, it would have been X amount of dollars, but because you're asking me here and putting the pressure on me and expressing how much you want this to work, I'm willing to cut you a deal that makes sense for you. And if it's not right, don't be afraid to say, I can't quite afford that right now, but could we maybe work out with this budget? Know what you're willing to spend, understand what they charge, do not disrespect them in the amount that they're charging, and just try to work with them. A lot of publicists will try to make things work, and if they can't, they might be able to point you towards somebody who can, and you'll just start this process all over again. Now, I know that this is a lot of information, and it's a lot of questions, so just to be clear, if you click on the link to Holics Daily in the description, you'll find all these questions there. You can copy and paste them, send them off to somebody, whatever you want to do. But they are there for you to help you make a more informed decision, because let me be honest, publicity can be very good, but it can also be very expensive. And if you invest in the wrong publicist for your career, you're not going to get anywhere except into debt. So avoid that by asking these questions. And if you want even more help with your career and understanding where the industry is going and what role you play in developing its future, then click the subscribe button, because that's what we do here at Music Biz. This channel is all about understanding where the industry is, where it's headed, and what we can learn from the people that are succeeding and failing along the way. My name is James. I'll be here every single week, and I hope you will be too. And before I let you go, let me just make this one small request. No matter what you do for the rest of the week, please take care of yourself, because you deserve it.